Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football for the Miami Hurricane fans who've been rocking with the fellas for the last couple of months and really last year at this point. Y'all know we spent a ton of the offseason talking about this program on the recruiting trail, talking about the commitments, talking about the young talent that's coming into this Miami Hurricanes program, a name that just continued to fly under the radar in that 2024 class and quite frankly flew under the radar until the start of 2024. Former three-star cornerback OJ Frederique Jr. This kid has blossomed. He's emerged as arguably the best pure cornerback on this Miami Hurricanes team right now. And quite frankly, he's just getting better as the year goes on in 2024. It's becoming very clear that this coaching staff trust a true freshman. You take a look at some of the situations that they put him in against Florida State. We're going to dive into a little bit of the film. You can tell they're not treating him like a true freshman. You go back to the last two games. He started the last two games against Florida State. He played the most snaps out of any defensive back outside of Michel Powell, and he only played like 3 less snaps than even Michel did. It's becoming clear that this program really likes OJ Frederique Jr. And the film, it really doesn't lie. Like you watch this kid, he's wise beyond his years at the cornerback position. He does not panic when the football is in the air. He knows how to get his head around and go play the football. He's very sticky in coverage in terms of mirroring wide receivers. And although he's only 6'1", 180, he plays with some really special physicality, especially for a true freshman cornerback. This kid's a stud. I'm fired up to get into it now. Before we get into it, as always, to the Miami Hurricane fans, y'all know one, I love talking about this program, and this kind of stuff excites me the most. The guys that we talked about on the recruiting trail, now we get to talk about them as football players. The amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas, it means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into OJ Frederique Jr. And I want to start with going back to this kid coming out of high school, where started his high school career at Deerfield Beach, transfers to St. Thomas Aquinas for his senior year. This is probably one of the conversations we have the most when you're evaluating kids coming out of high school, where a lot of these recruiting services, depending on what service you like, 24/7 Sports, On3, Rivals, you see this trend across the board. And that is, if you don't have some sort of thing in your athletic profile that makes you stand out, you sometimes kind of just get lost in the rankings. And I think this is what happened to OJ Frederique, where you look at him, a mid 3-star, 66 cornerback coming out in 2024. Then you watch the film and say that doesn't really make sense. And I think that's the problem, right? OJ Frederique Jr. didn't have any crazy track times coming out of high school. He wasn't 6'3" with 34-inch arms. That being said, he was a damn good football player that dominated at a relatively high level of high school football in his senior year. And so as a result, he kind of just flew under the radar. And you talk about Miami hitting on a kid, they hit on this kid in a big way. I think the most fascinating conversation is he didn't even early enroll to Miami. He came into the program in early June, summer workouts. You started hearing the buzz around fall camp, and all of a sudden you fast forward to the midway point in 2024. This kid is the starting quarterback for this Miami Hurricanes program. You take a look at the numbers. The numbers are exceptional, right? He's faced 19 targets. He's only given up 8 receptions, a 47% completion percentage when targeted for the true freshman. Only 6% missed tackle rate. That's probably the thing that freshman cornerbacks struggle with the most when they get to the collegiate level. Like, can you tackle these big bodies in space? OJ Frederique Jr. not having a problem doing that. The last 2 games, he's faced 9 targets. He's given up 2 catches. This kid has been elite the last couple of weeks, and it's such a big storyline for Miami, where you look at Miami specifically on offense and say they're checking off just about every single box you want to see checked off in terms of national championship caliber team. You look on the defense and say front 7 defensive line pass rush, national championship caliber. We're still trying to get our secondary there. Like, what happens if OJ Frederique Jr. continues to build on what he's doing as a true freshman and just gets better as 2024 goes on? That's arguably the biggest storyline for Miami going into the back half of 2024 in the ACC championship and the college football playoffs. Now, let's get into the film of OJ Frederique Jr. Now, there's 4 reps I want to show, and this rep is probably the most impressive. And it tells you two things. One, OJ Frederique Jr. is the real deal. But I think number two, the coaching staff thinks he's that, right? You're going to get a single high look where you see OJ Frederique Jr. just on an island and man coverage on Florida State's best wide receiver, Malik Benson, a guy that runs a 10-4 in the 100-meter dash. You're going to see Malik Benson try to work vertically on OJ Frederique Jr., and it's just not going to work. When he gets hands on him, he kind of remains in that back pocket, stays in phase. It's not only the play, but it's how comfortable Lance Guidry and this Miami Hurricane staff are with the true freshman going up against Florida State's best wide receiver on an island with just one single high safety. Like there's not much help for OJ Frederique Jr. coming into this play. You roll the film here, really, really good off the line of scrimmage. Just remains in Malik Benson's pocket. Again, the short area quick's really good. Again, Malik Benson's a 10-4 guy in the 100-meter dash. He's one of the fastest players in all of the country. This is not a bad ball by Luke Kromenhoek. OJ Frederique Jr. just eats him up. I mean, this is as good as it gets from a true freshman cornerback, especially working on one of the better wide receivers on this Florida State roster, which unfortunately is not saying much. But regardless, the staff having confidence in OJ Frederique Jr. to run down the field with Malik Benson with just a single high safety and him actually doing it exceptionally well. If you're a Miami Hurricane fan, that's awesome to see. Second rep you want to look at, true freshman on true freshman right here, right? OJ Frederique Jr. again, a little bit of an on an island play here. And Miami's going to go to that cover one look where they're going to leak a safety down into the middle of the field in that robber look with just one single high safety. Again, we're going to leave OJ Frederique Jr. on an island against true freshman LaWayne McCoy. Take a look at this rep. This is another one of those textbook reps where he's just going to squeeze the true freshman wide receiver right to the sideline. Yeah, he gets a little bit handsy here. He doesn't get called for it. This is how it looks. Like when you have a boundary wide receiver that is running vertically down the field, just squeeze him out, take the real estate away. That's what OJ Frederique Jr. does. We saw in the first rep him able to run down the field with the fastest wide receiver on Florida State's team. And then on the second rep, you show some really, really good hand fighting. You show some really good polish as a cornerback, squeezing that wide receiver out to the boundary, taking away the real estate in which where the quarterback can operate down the field. Those are two really, really good reps. Taking a look at this last one, and this one, actually, we got two more. This is the exact look Florida State's looking for, right? You're going to get man coverage here. They're going to run a little bit of a mesh concept. Again, OJ Frederique playing some off coverage right now. They're going to give him some traffic, and they're going to see if OJ Frederique Jr. can work through that traffic and break on the football. That's exactly what he does. Now, this ball gets batted down at the line of scrimmage. It might be a good thing for Florida State that it did. And again, we're going to run that little, a little bit of a corner route with the slot wide receiver to try to give some traffic for OJ Frederique Jr. to work through. Manipulates it fine. Breaks on the football, is arguably going to beat Malik Benson to the catch point and take that ball to the house if it doesn't get batted at the line of scrimmage. This doesn't get any better as well. So you're seeing him check just so many things that you're looking for, whether it's running vertically down the field with a really fast wide receiver, whether it's breaking on the football, moving forward. A lot of different things that this kid is checking. Then the last thing, this is probably the thing you see cornerbacks struggle with the most. I mean, you go back to Kermani McClain last year as a true freshman for Colorado, didn't make a tackle all year. OJ Frederique, he's put together, 6 foot 180. He does not look like a freshman cornerback, and he doesn't play like one either. You get a little 3rd and 2 short, and they're going to bunch set you. So OJ Frederique's going to have to climb down to the line of scrimmage. They're going to run a toss to the true freshman side. Tight ends doesn't get a good handle on him, beats the block, makes the play before the line of scrimmage, forcing a 4th down. And I think this is the 4th down that they had that crazy Luke Kromenhoek QB sneak that went for 40. Regardless, if you want to play winning football, getting off the field on 3rd and 2, it's going to win you a lot of football games. And him showing the ability to tackle in space, really, really impressive stuff. I think this is a huge storyline because you look at Miami and say that this is the one question mark that we have about this football team going into the postseason. And if they can continue to get better at this area in the defensive back room, solidify that group, which OJ Frederique Jr. kind of emerging as a stud would certainly help. That's a good sign for the Miami Hurricanes. They play a lot more man coverage against Florida State. They kind of did what we expected them to do, and that is go challenge these wide receivers, see if these wide receivers can beat you on the outside. They couldn't. And Miami played pretty solid on defense. I think they could have done better, but they played dang good on defense. Probably one of the better defensive performances that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. This kid's not getting talked enough about. We missed him on the high school recruiting trail. This kid is a stud for Miami. And you kind of love to see some of these guys, like Xavier Estrepo is another perfect example. Not a ton of buzz around him coming out. He actually went to Deerfield Beach as well. Not a ton of buzz coming out of college or coming out of high school. Goes to Miami, continues to get better, emerges as one of their best players on their football team. Sounds like true freshman OJ Frederique Jr., kind of on that same trajectory. A lot of excitement around this kid, checking a lot of boxes. Wanted to hop on, just dive into it a little bit. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.